All right, you all ready?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, this is our team professional interview project.
By Cam.
By Nick.
Noah.
And George.
All right, so who is Ethan? So we'll actually have Ethan introduce himself to all of you.
Well, hey guys, my name is Ethan Slattery. I own Slattery Property Services. Here it is. It's a home service landscaping business, similar to Noah, as you might know. I'm 22. I'm a senior at UD, business entrepreneurship major. I'm sure some of you guys are about to graduate as well. Um, let's see, I'm from Delaware. Um, and yeah.
All right, so that is a little bit about Ethan. Um, all right, so we had also asked him, in your business, uh, what type of negotiations happen most often that people probably don't even think of as a negotiation? And here is what he had to say to that. Let me just pull it up real quick. Mhm. This happen most often that people probably don't even think of as a negotiation.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, I guess pricing, that's obviously like an obvious one. Something that may not be seen as a negotiation, maybe like flexibility on like scheduling. Like maybe I'm trying to come on this day and they need something done this day, and we work it out some way, shape, or form. I would say that is a form of negotiation. Just working out little things like that. Um, Maybe the certain way they want things done, and maybe we do it a different way, but we can kind of meet in the middle, or figure out what works with each of us. um I don't know, it can be different with every customer, I guess. Obviously the most common negotiation is just money.
All right, so in this clip, Ethan had talked about how a lot of negotiations in business are not always directly about just the price. A lot of the times, more it's about scheduling, flexibility, and figuring out what works best for both sides. It connects to the course concepts of interest versus positions, because instead of immediately focusing on a price number, Ethan tries to understand what the customer actually needs first. From there, he works towards a solution that actually makes sense for both people instead of turning it into a win or lose situation.
Okay, so for the second question we asked Ethan was when meeting a new customer, what are you trying to learn about before you ever talk about the price?
What are you trying to learn before even talking about the price?
So I'm trying to learn what their issue is, what they need solved. We're not even really thinking about price yet until I know what the customer wants. I kind of like give them some time to speak their mind and see what problem they need solved. And then from there we can, you know, work out a price that works for both of us, hopefully.
And this answer shows the importance of gathering information before negotiating. Ethan explains that he first tries to understand the customer's actual issue instead of immediately talking about the price. In class, we discussed how information creates negotiation power because it allows you to better understand priorities and possible solutions. Ethan uses active listening and perspective taking before making offers or discussing numbers.
So the third question we asked Ethan was all about handling pushback on pricing. So we asked him, have you ever had a customer push back hard on pricing? How did you handle it without losing the relationship? Well, by the way,
Yeah, of course.
have you ever had a customer push back hard on pricing? And if so, how did you handle that without losing the relationship?
Yeah, so I definitely have customers push back on pricing all the time. It happens every day. Something I mentioned is that we are not necessarily here for the best price, but we're here for the best quality, and we're here to we're reliable. We show up, and we have great communication. And like I said, we're not going for the best price. We're going for best quality. We try not to be the most expensive. We try to be like in the middle there. And sometimes, depending on the job, I'm willing to budge on the price a little bit. I'd be happy to, try to make it work for the customer, fit within their budget. I'm not like a stickler all the time. I like to work with people.
So in this section of the interview, Ethan really shows strategic persuasion. So instead of just defending his side of the pricing, he tries to show the client how the price, like why the price is what it is. So he talks about reliability, communication, and quality. Uh, this really connects nicely with the persuasion concepts we discussed in class because he's using logic and credibility to justify value rather than simply lowering prices immediately. He also talks about how he's flexible with his prices, depending on the situation the customer's in. Uh, and this is good because it helps preserve relationships with customers.
So next question we asked is, do you usually give your price upfront confidently, or do you try to hear their expectations first, and why?
Front, or do you try and hear their expectations for price first? And if there is kind of like that negotiation, like you talked about, like how do you really like deal with that negotiation and go about that?
So you're asking if
Like when you give a price to a customer, you kind of give it upfront, I'm guessing most of the time. How do you kind of go about that? And obviously on top of that, like if there's a negotiation about price, how do you handle that negotiation?
So usually like I want it to be clear what they want first, what they want done first. If sometimes they'll ask for like a ballpark range of what it might cost, and I can give them an idea, but I don't like to give them an actual, exact estimate until I know exactly what they want done, or I've laid eyes on the job and I can see exactly what the job is. Um, but yeah, people ask me all the time, like, you have an idea how much this might cost, and I can give them an idea, but for the most part, I need to see the job, and then I can give them an exact price.
His kind of overall answer, he used a lot of information in negotiation. He explains that he avoids giving exact prices before fully understanding the situation. This kind of prevents him from creating weak anchors too early and protects his flexibility later in discussion. Early numbers can strongly influence expectations, so Ethan tends to wait until he has enough information before finally making a commitment.
So then the next question is we asked him is, have you ever underpriced a job just to get it and then regretted it? And what did you learn from that?
Just worth it to secure the job. Like for example, like a like neighborhood and just like trying to do a good job, put in good work so that you get more customers in return.
Yeah, definitely. I just worked for a guy recently. He owns like a huge contracting company, and he's been talking about subcontracting us to other jobs. And I want him to be happy with our not only our prices but our work. So I gave him a pretty decent deal. And he was also mentioning that if he were to subcontract us, it's great that we'd be just a little bit under him. That way they can still make money. Um, but yeah, and also like people local, I might, if they do like weekly versus bi-weekly, I can give them a better price on the lawn just because they're nearby and it's just easier for me. But it definitely depends on the situation.
So in this clip, Ethan explains how he occasionally accepts lower short-term profits in order to create future opportunities. This reflects integrative negotiation because he is thinking beyond the immediate transaction and focusing on the long-term value creation. Instead of maximizing value in one single interaction, he builds relationships that may generate more business later.
We also asked him, how do you handle situations where a customer keeps adding small extra requests after the price is already agreed upon? You handle situations where a customer keeps adding the small little extra things as you're going, after the price is already agreed upon?
Yeah, I love these customers, man. Um, yeah, so like there's some it depends on the size of the job for sure. If it's like a pretty big job, I'd be happy to like add little things on here and there. But if it's like starting to take up a lot of time or whatever, I'll definitely like I'll let them know like this is gonna cost you some extra money. I'm very clear about that, and I don't let people push me around, that's for sure. But you know, if I like the person and they are getting a pretty good sized job done or whatever, I'm happy to, you know, do little things for them, make them happy.
Yeah, so this clip was a very good example of balancing customer relationships while still protecting the value of the work. So Ethan explained that he's usually willing to help the customer out with small little extra requests, especially if it's during a larger project, especially for a good client. Um, but once those extra requests start taking up too much additional work time, he makes it clear that there needs to be extra compensation. This connects to negotiation because it shows how you can stay flexible and collaborative without letting people take advantage of you or cross your boundaries.
So the second to last question that we asked Ethan was, have you ever had to walk away from a job or client? What made you decide it wasn't worth it? Times and sometimes clients can make you want to walk away. So if you have walked away from a client before and like walking away from a deal, what made you decide that that was overall the best decision?
Usually I like to say they're just not my customer. It's just not meant for me. I know, you know, what our work is worth sometimes, and there's a point where I know I'm not going to go below this because it's just not worth it for us. So mentally, it doesn't hurt me at all, really. I would say most of the time it's not like me walking away; it's the customer walking away because I'm the one that gives the price and they decide from there. So it's kind of like up to them, usually. So yeah.
The answer that Ethan gave us here ties perfectly into what a bad and resistant point is. Ethan told us that he knows when a deal is no longer right for him, and that's okay. So instead of lowering the price endlessly, he knows the customer isn't the right fit, and he just moves on. In a negotiation, having alternatives and just knowing what your resistance point is, it gives you confidence and prevents poor agreements.
What is one negotiation lesson you learned the hard way to keep running your business?
What is kind of one lesson you learned the hard way running your business, especially like negotiation based?
Oh, is this about negotiations, this class?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh boy, a hard lesson I learned in negotiations. I wouldn't say this one was a hard lesson, but I had one guy who really liked to negotiate. Like he was all about the best price, and we were cool. Like I did other work for him in the past. He actually gave me a minivan one time, so like you know I feel like I kind of owed this guy a little bit. But he definitely was super pushy on the price, and I did like a crap ton of work for him, and it was like for like half the price it should have been, and it ended up being a lot of work. And now I know in the future, like I need to make sure I charge appropriately and don't let people push me down that low. But I wouldn't say that was too hard of a lesson. I've definitely had like worse lessons in negotiation. But for the most part, it doesn't really get nasty in any way. You know, it's usually pretty respectful, for the most part.
So this clip overall kind of highlights how emotions and relationships can influence negotiations. Um, Ethan kind of explains because he liked the customer and felt obligated to help him. He accepted a deal that ended up not being worth the amount of work involved. This shows how emotion, social pressure can affect negotiation decisions and how experience helps negotiators improve their boundaries over time. He kind of learned the hard way with not claiming enough value in the negotiation too, and allowing someone else to take charge early on. Uh, these mistakes, though, can obviously improve future judgments as he goes along.
So the main takeaways are that negotiation happens constantly in a service-based business. Good negotiators focus on solving problems first. information, and listening help to also create a lot of negotiation power. And then we really also learned that relationships matter a whole lot, but the boundaries are still there, so you got to set them when that time matters. And then also, I mean, just experience improves negotiation. So the more you work at something, the better you'll get at it. And thank you very much for watching our presentation. And thank you, Ethan, for being a part of it.